Hey, welcome back to the Quacking Pancakes Podcast. I'm Kory Hoang.
And I'm Evan Mullvain.
So thanks for tuning in again. If this is your first time watching, then welcome. The way that we usually kick things off is with some news from the past week. Evan, you got some news for us?
Yeah, so we actually got some snow here in Atlanta. Not so much down by where we are. It was it snowed pretty hard, but nothing really stuck. Because we don't get, we're not lucky, we don't get the snow, but I think up north in northern parts of Atlanta and north of the city got quite a bit, relatively speaking, anyways, because
right.
Yeah, we cancel school with small dustings, so
that is true.
But yeah, it was cool because it's been a couple years since it's actually like snowed. So cool stuff.
I don't know if I've ever actually seen real snow in Georgia, like ones that you could build a snowman with or have snowball fights or anything like that. Do you remember anything? Because I definitely don't.
When we were in 7th grade, it snowed quite a bit, and they canceled school for a whole week. Like I say a lot, but it was like an inch or two of snow, and they canceled it for an entire week. That was 2010 or 11, something like that. So it was.
Wait, 2010, 2011. I would have known you by then.
So yeah. 7th grade.
Oh, I do remember we got snow. That was a while ago. That's almost 11 years ago now. Wow. It's crazy.
That was the last time we actually got like a
real snow, right?
Significant amount of snow.
Yeah, usually it's just black ice and people just don't go anywhere. People are stuck in their homes. You don't see kids shoveling snow or anything, like I'm sure is much more common up north.
Yeah, that was I shoveled my fair bit of driveways in Wisconsin when I lived up there, but it's fun. It's cool. You get to, after school, you get to go home and like go sledding and stuff. It's a different kind of experience.
Sometimes I wish we lived in a state that was still in the South where the seasons can be a little more balanced, but a state like North Carolina or Tennessee where it's you're gonna be more on the cold side of the winters and get snow and such.
I think they're about to get like a big snowstorm, like tomorrow, I think.
Yeah.
They get a lot of snow. Yeah. It was supposed to snow again here tomorrow, and then it like shifted more east. Now it's just going to be all the Carolinas. Whatever.
Maybe next time.
Maybe. But that's it for news. Not a whole lot going on. That's if the news is just we got snow, well, then I guess it's about as exciting as it gets down here in Georgia.
Well, I did buy a new guitar today. You went along with me to do that.
You did, yeah. I was there as the bodyguard.
Made a pretty good penny off of it, but it's funny because this man was maybe in his 40s or 50s, and he drove 2 hours away to come pick it up.
I still can't believe how far he drove.
He said to me, he's like, "Oh, I gotta go because my wife doesn't know I bought this." So I'm not looking forward to that part of my life yet, but we'll see what happens as time moves on.
I wonder if he's gonna like ever tell his wife that he got the guitar, or if like he's just gonna hold on to that information, like, oh, there's money missing from the bank account. He's like, I don't know.
He says it was withdrawn because he paid me in cash. That's very sketchy as a husband-wife duo. So I hope he has a way to get out of that.
As long as it wasn't like a cashier's check. We were talking about that. And if they give you like a cashier's check, you try and deposit it, they can go back and say, oh yeah, that was a fake check, and they'd get a refund, but you would not get refunded for the money. Apparently that's a big scam.
Well, thankfully this guy was a very nice guy, and I hope his gear acquisition syndrome, as it's called, has been tamed, and he works it out with his wife, because I think that's the worst thing you can do as a musician is tell your family you got another instrument, because they're just like, oh, again. But yeah. So,
and you have another one coming on the way, right? You're looking at other ones.
Yeah. So the story is that I had a guitar that when me and Evan worked at Jimmy John's a few summers ago, I used all my Jimmy John's money to buy a guitar from the 60s, loved it. But then I was like, oh, well, maybe if I buy a modern guitar that's the equivalent of this guitar, then it'll be a million times better and it has more bells and whistles and stuff. And that wasn't the case. And I had this guitar for 4 years and I was stuck with it. And then finally I was like, I'm going to sell this one and get the one I originally sold in the first place. So I was telling Evan, I'll let him know when I'm going to go ahead and sell this one that I sold, that I just bought today to get the one that I just sold today. So it's going to be an ongoing cycle.
Everything, as Justin Timberlake said, what goes around comes around, right? That's how what that phrase means. But yeah, so that's news. Georgia news and Kory news.
Yeah. Any Evan news while we're at it?
No Evan news. I don't think. I've kind of just been hanging out around here. For those that don't know, I work remote, so I just like sit around at home a lot, and it's kind of boring. It gets old really quick.
Does it though?
I I think I'm ready to start a 9 to 5. I'm ready to go into the office. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. But for now, no Evan news. Yeah, no. My life is boring. I've been working on like starting getting like Adobe After Effects and all that. I got like one of the student subscriptions, which I know I'm not supposed to because I'm not technically a college student anymore, but my Georgia Southern email still works, so I can get a student subscription to all the Adobe programs.
Your Georgia Southern email still works?
Yeah.
My Georgia Tech email got disabled like as soon as I graduated. Then they knew I was a phony.
That's tragic. It's very sad. But yeah, let's I guess what do we want to transition into the Quacking Pancakes question of the day? Do that?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
All right. So, Quacking Pancakes question of the day. We said, what was your favorite TV show during quarantine? Because we all know we were sitting around doing nothing. You have to open Netflix, HBO Max, whatever it was, Hulu. You had to open it up and watch some new show. And for me, that was Always Sunny. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I love that show. It was great. It's one of those shows where everybody's been talking about it forever. And I was like, I might as well finally just do it. I mean, I don't have an excuse now if I'm just at home doing nothing, which is pretty much what I do now anyways. But I have a reason to. So I watched it and it was great. It's still going. They just got renewed for like 4 more seasons. And the newer seasons aren't as exciting and entertaining as the old ones. But it's still good. I still enjoy it. But yeah, that's
mine. Still have the same principal main cast throughout the entirety of the show.
Yeah. I think it started off as 4 people owned a bar, and then one of the characters' dads came in. That's Danny DeVito. He like came in a couple episodes in, or maybe it was a season in. And yeah, they just kind of like bum around Philadelphia and they own a bar. That's about it. But it's pretty
I know
funny.
You've been trying to get me to watch it for some time now, but still haven't made my rounds.
It's good. When we get to like the second quarantine, when COVID-20 hits, then you can watch it.
COVID-20, yeah. Not COVID-22 or anything.
No. We're on the 19th COVID right now. So when the Zeta variant or whatever.
Oh, we're definitely going to get flagged for misinformation.
Yeah. Oh no, we're not going to get monetized. But what show did you watch during quarantine?
The show that I watched the most during quarantine was The Office. And I've been trying to watch it for some time now. You were the very first person I ever knew who watched it before it was on any streaming platform. And I think you grew up with the show, right? Like you saw it on TV. You guys waited for premieres of the episodes and whatnot.
It came on every Wednesday. My parents watched it. I would always like sit in the living room, watch it with them. We had all the seasons on DVD. It's somewhere, I don't know where, but yeah, we're like the OGs of The Office.
Yeah, and then obviously we had a guest on the show a few episodes ago, Ben Holmes, and I was telling him on the episode that I remember I would wake up every Saturday morning to Ben's subwoofer in his room blasting The Office because I guess he binged it during our freshman year of college. So I decided to finally give it a go that same year, but I kind of got sidetracked. So when we were in quarantine, I was like, all right, I'm finally going to sit down and watch the whole thing now. Still didn't finish it, but I'm a few episodes left in season 8. Um, the show is very different after certain things happen within the plot line, just in case no one knows what happens with the characters. But I'm very much enjoying it. And, this is a question that comes up very often from what I read. Evan, do you believe that this show would survive today if it aired today?
Yes, I do. It's actually interesting you say that. There was, I don't remember what it was. There was like an advertisement for another TV show, and I don't remember what the TV show was. And they tried comparing it to The Office. Like that was the thing they were trying to get people to watch it. It was like, critics say it's the next The Office. And I was like, how can you really say that? Like, how do you know that it's going to be that good if the show hasn't even started yet? But so you're saying if The Office, like same characters and everything, it just started now, or like if someone tried to remake a show like The Office?
I mean it in terms of the writing, because I know the writing can be very provocative sometimes, and it's the fact that I think most people know it has a cult status that I think humor works today, or it still holds up today. But if that was released in today's kind of pop culture society, you think a lot of those jokes would work?
I still think yes. And even if the certain writers, and I don't know, like I don't remember any of the names, the writers or anything. Well, I know like a lot of the cast tend to like write some of the episodes, like BJ Novak and Mindy Kaling, I think, wrote a couple. But like in the first season, a lot of people hated Michael, and they were like, okay, we should probably rewrite, like start to reformulate Michael into a way where he's, still funny, but like more, I don't know, like not as, I hate using the word cringy, but Michael was very like, oh, like it hurt to watch some of the early episodes.
It
So I
makes you
think,
uncomfortable.
yeah, he makes you uncomfortable, which is the point. But they kind of like rewrote him in the later seasons so that he was like a lovable kind of guy, like a lovable, embarrassing to be around. But I think, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the writers would find a way to make it so that even today it would still be like a good show, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah. And, obviously still in the early 2000s or mid 2000s, I should say, a lot of those actors and actresses have gone on to do a lot of professional level work and have had lives after the show. So I think it's for the best that everything worked out. But yeah, still haven't finished it yet. Me and a friend were watching it together all throughout the quarantine, and we were just like, it's going to be one of those shows that once you finish it, you can't ever, redo it again. And that's how I feel about Dexter. That's how I feel about Breaking Bad, and among other shows. But I guess while we're on that topic, real quick, Evan, is there a show that you wish you could just wipe your memory off and watch it again from scratch?
Uh, yes, there are a couple of shows. I think we can tend to agree on a lot of the shows because the whole episode today is going to be talking about like shows that we liked growing up and have been watching recently. Um, Dexter is definitely probably at the top of the list. I think you could probably maybe agree. I
Mhm.
like it because there's so many different aspects of that show, and we'll talk about it more in detail later. Because it's so different, it's a good show to rewatch. Like you can rewatch and you're like, oh, I forgot that happened. Oh, I forgot that happened. So that's one that like you can rewatch it and still forget a lot of things. So it's good that it's so different. But Breaking Bad is
Mhm.
another one because you kind of get the gist of what happens. So if I could like completely wipe my mind of, oh, I wonder what's going to happen, I'd be like, oh, wow, that I did not expect that. So those are probably the two for me. Do you have shows like that?
Uh, Funnily enough, probably something very similar with those two shows. Um, but of course, we can touch on that later. Uh, yeah, those shows, amazing. I'd say for me, if I had to be different though, do you remember watching Wilfred?
Oh yeah. See, it's been so long that I've almost completely forgotten what happened. So maybe you just need to wait like 12 years
Mhm.
in between watching shows and you just forget it and it's like watching it over again.
Right.
Who knows? But yeah, so those were our shows that we watched during quarantine. We actually have a Quacking Pancakes fan question, and it came in from an at Lil Mike 420. He's from Omaha, Nebraska, and he asks, "Hellos, Ewan and Croy. Blue Marlins was my grandpa's favorite game, and he is on his deathbed waiting for playthroughs of it. He doesn't has much time left. Can expect soon." And to that Lil Mike 420, I have to say, yes, I am working on. It's called the Blue Marlin. It's not plural. It's singular. It's the Blue Marlin, and yes, it will be out soon. I hope to have it up next week. It's going to be kind of a playthrough overview of what the game is, and I'm really excited. It's going to be great. Hope to have all of you guys watching it. So if you're not subscribed, hit the bell, get post notifications, all that fun stuff. But yeah, so that's in the works, and then we got some more videos in the shoot, and it's gonna be great. So thank you, Lil Mike 420, for the question. And if you have any more questions, you can find us on social media. We got our Quacking Pancakes. You can email us at quackingpancakes@gmail.com. We'll have something somewhere where you can send us questions, and we will be sure to answer it like we did with Lil Mike 420.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, getting into our main segment. As some of you have already noticed throughout this episode, we've talked a lot about TV shows, and that's kind of our theme for this episode, is just talking about TV shows we enjoyed, TV shows, we necessarily didn't enjoy, what we think makes a good TV show, all that kind of stuff. So, just to dive straight into it, Evan, what do you think makes a good TV show? Is there a certain level of criteria that you're looking for when you're starting something new, or is it just recommendations, word of mouth? How do you usually go about starting a new TV show?
For me, I usually like a show that I know has been around for a while, and it's hard for me to get into a show that's brand new. Nobody knows about it. We were talking about this earlier off camera. We were talking about cars. I was like, I don't know if I like buying new cars. I like to wait a couple years to for them to iron out the kinks. That's how I feel about TV shows. Like, if I know, because you told me about Dexter, you're like, there's a show, Dexter, you gotta watch Dexter. I was like, I don't know. And it's like, bro, it's been on for I don't know, because it was over right by the time that you'd shown me, I think. Right. It's like, oh yeah, it's been on for 8-9 seasons. I was like, okay, well, it must be good then. There's so many seasons. So I think longevity definitely makes for a good TV show. I mean, obviously, if it's bad, they're not going to keep picking it up. I mean, I'm sure there are some exceptions somewhere. We have some TV shows, but yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, in terms of longevity, what is that show you're always telling me about? It's like the greatest show ever, but it's only one season.
Oh, Firefly. I think that's the one that you're talking about. I've never seen it. I'm a little scared to watch it, and there are a bunch of points that I'm making here, but there's a show that you and I both watched, and it ended they canceled the show on a cliffhanger, and I won't say what it is because we'll get there eventually. But I don't know, because I've never seen Firefly. I think the same thing happened where it was one season, everybody said it was the greatest show of all time, and then they canceled it, and so it's I would hate to start watching a show and then it get canceled. I want the entire show to be done, right, and then watch it. But that's what it is for me. I don't know what makes a good TV show for you.
I'd have to say, it has a little bit to do with who's in it. Obviously, a lot of TV shows don't have what most people would recognize as A-list actors, but people who can make their way up into it. I remember in the early 2010s, there was a huge craze that came out of nowhere regarding zombies. I'm sure you remember, every show had some sort of zombie plot line, and it's because The Walking Dead took over, and that's why Atlanta's this huge movie and films powerhouse and TV shows and everything. That being said, to go back to your question of longevity, how important longevity is to a show and the aspects that surround that. The Walking Dead's been on for 11 seasons now, and I just saw the trailer for what is called the 11th season, part 2 of 3. I'm like, why don't they just make it 11 seasons, part 1 and 2, or why don't they just make it 11 seasons? It's gone on for too long at this point.
You sent me a meme the other day, and I can put it up here when we're editing it. But it was like the picture of all of the main characters, and then like Negan just like with the club, and he's like, when Walking Dead lost 70% of its fans.
Yeah,
And I mean, it's
you were
just
one of
true.
them.
Yeah.
You're
I don't think I finished that season. Like
no, like we were so happy because we were sitting in Eagle Village. I don't think either of our roommates then, as we mentioned before, I don't think either of them were home. We had the TV set up in the living room, and we were like, "It's time to watch season 7. We're finally going to figure out who died." And then you're like, "I don't really want to watch this anymore."
yeah, like we're talking about a bunch of TV shows, and we'll try and do our best to not like spoil things. But
Mhm.
when certain people in that season died, it was like, I kind of don't want to, like, what's the
Well,
point anymore?
see, here's the thing with that though, because I don't think that was the writers or the shows or anyone else on the production's fault, because you have to kill people off in that show. And like, I think main characters shouldn't always have plot armor, like
Right.
I
Didn't
don't
like
think that they should have lost.
it was like 3 or 4 main characters, like a pretty substantial. I'm j- I- I'm just mad that the one character didn't die at the dumpster. They had to wait and kill them here. Like, there was no way he should have gotten out of the dumpster situation. No way. But
There was a lot of things wrong with, I think you told me this all the time. It's like the show's first like 4 seasons were like the best show like ever made, and then you're just
greatest
like
TV ever. Yeah.
the writing got lazy after that, and then yeah, but uh yeah, just to piggyback off of the longevity there, that show probably should have ended a couple seasons ago, in my opinion. I hear now that it's very good, and I still try to keep up with it, although I don't really wait to watch the premieres of everything. But longevity is not always such a bad thing, because The Simpsons has been on for like forever now.
Yeah, I can't really speak to the newer episodes of The Simpsons because I haven't really watched them. Older episodes of The Simpsons are great, but I've heard people like friends have talked about how it's just not the same anymore. And part of that makes me wonder, like, and I know that like sometimes shows, it's time to end because it's been going on since the 80s. But part of me wonders, like, is it like the nostalgia aspect too, that like we think the shows are better back in the day because we remember watching it and remember like, oh yeah, I remember watching those shows. Like when iCarly came to Netflix, it was like,
Mm,
this is the greatest thing ever. I remember watching this as a kid. But like, was it a good show? I mean, it is. It is. Don't get me wrong,
it's
but
a good show,
it is
but
a good show.
people are of the opinion, and maybe they've had this opinion before, that Jerry Trainer actually just carried that whole show, and I think he
Great
pretty
guy.
much did. Yeah.
Great guy. Crazy Steve. Yeah.
Speaking of people who carry shows, though, well, actually, I don't even know if I can really say he carried the show, because that show is filled with tons of great characters and actors and whatnot. Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad's probably one of my favorite shows I've ever seen, if not the favorite show that I've ever seen. And in terms of the longevity, I think they got it just right. I think the way they wrote the show is they already had the ending in mind, which is good. I don't think people who made The Walking Dead knew when this show was going to end, or Dexter, they didn't know how they wanted to end the show. I feel like Breaking Bad, they probably had it figured out from the start, and you can see that. So it's only 5 seasons long. Um, I felt like that was a good length for what the show is. I think me and you have talked about this before, is that if it was any longer, it probably wouldn't have been as successful as it is now.
Yeah, for sure. So it kind of reminds me of a question. Breaking Bad has a pretty good ending. Does a bad ending to a TV show ruin the whole TV show, in your opinion?
I think I know where you're going with this. And I will say it makes it less enjoyable every time you try to rewatch it. And we'll just address the elephant in the room. We're talking about Dexter most notably here. And the thing about Dexter is that they didn't just mess it up once, they messed it up twice. like I don't think either Evan or I were expecting, although I don't think you hated the ending that much. I was a little bit disappointed. The second
I
ending.
I could see the second ending coming. Of course, it was like, ah, man, that sucks. But way more disappointed by the first ending
Mm.
to the series. I mean, I don't really know how much we want to talk about it. Like it finished in what, 2013? It's been out for almost 10 years
Well,
now.
the new season, if they want to call it that, miniseries, Dexter New Blood, just came out, and Evan and I watched each episode religiously. They dropped it like 12:01. We'd watch it and talk about it, and just we were excited where it was going to go. I think that episode had pacing issues. Maybe there were some plotline issues, but the thing I felt about the original series is that I almost can't watch past season 4 anymore. I feel like that's how most people would associate The Walking Dead too. Like season 4 is probably a very crucial point in most TV shows. Like I think there's a pattern here. Like Walking Dead season 4, Evan and I's viewership started to trail off. Dexter season 4, things weren't as good as the first ones, but to be fair, season 4 is the best season of Dexter in my opinion. And that's, I think, what makes Breaking Bad so special is that the show is only 5 seasons long, and season 4 is when it actually starts to really, really pick up. So in general, just to answer your question about whether I believe a bad ending ruins a show, not necessarily, unless you're Dexter and the creators of Dexter, who tries to, retcon the whole thing, or I guess they didn't really try to, but they just mess it up twice. And then also, if you're trying to rewatch it as a viewer, I'm on season 4 right now. I just started. Like, I already don't know if I even want to watch season 5 and whatnot. And I
Kyle.
think you've seen Dexter multiple times, have you? Or how do you
Yep.
feel about all of this? Yeah.
So, in my opinion, it's similar to what you were saying. I still enjoyed the later seasons. They brought like Colin Hanks in, like in a later season, and I really enjoyed that season. But there's like, so the episodes are good, but you can kind of see where it's going. Like you're like, something's gonna happen to Dexter. He's either gonna get caught, something's gonna happen to him. So like, even though you're enjoying watching the episodes, you're like, I don't like the feeling that this is giving me because I kind of know how this is progressing. It's like you're in a box and the box is getting smaller and smaller. You're like, I don't know how I'm gonna get out of this. But like in the first couple of seasons, it's like, oh, this is fun. It's a guy killing people. Whoa, this is so fun and exciting. But then people start to catch on to things, and yeah, I would still probably watch Dexter again. I don't know about you. Would you watch the whole series and then like not watch the last season, or do you feel like obligated to watch like the whole thing just to get the most out of it?
That's a great question. To be fair, like,
Because I have heard of people who do that. They're like, oh yeah, I watched The Office, but refuse to watch Scott's Tots. Like that's the only episode that I won't watch, just because it's like I don't want to go through that.
well, okay, that can connect us to our next topic that I wanted to touch on, but lately I have been watching all these episodes because I do like watching Dexter's character development. That point you just reminded me of though is continuity. I don't think Scott's Tots really has a huge part in the overall. Yeah. So continuity is something I think is very important. And just to piggyback off of Dexter again, there's a lot of things I felt they got wrong in New Blood that the original character would not have done in the original show. Namely, some things that happens in the series finale, some very questionable things I don't think the original Dexter character would even conspire to do. But in terms of continuity, Evan, do you think that has any kind of impact on whether it shows maybe not necessarily good or not, but how much you enjoy watching it per se?
So I enjoy both types of shows, ones that are continuous, have like a story, and then others that are just like, oh, you could just go on Netflix, close your eyes, and pick a random episode, and you'll be fine. I like either. I guess it just depends on the mood that I'm in. Like, do I want to watch something where I kind of have to pay attention, or do I want something that I could just have on in the background and laugh a couple of times when they make jokes? I like it. It just depends. Um, yeah, I don't know. I like, without trying to double down on shows that we've already talked about too much. There was like Family Guy, who you
I
know,
always just have Family Guy on in the background.
you just put it on. Like there's no story really to it. You just have it on.
Well,
Um,
there is kind of a story. Every episode is like Peter tries to do something, and then it turns out to be an episode about Meg.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
or like they'll introduce characters like that last the whole season. Like there's a new character this season. I don't know who it is. It's like the little baby. It's like Stewie's new arch nemesis or whatever.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, they
I'm
have
not
like the
caught
mini
up.
arcs. They have the mini arcs. Um, but yeah, if I'm going like overall enjoyment, I'll probably watch a continuity based show because I feel like
Mhm.
you get more out of it. It's like makes you feel a certain way when you watch it.
Right. Just talking about Family Guy, about how you can just kind of take a dart, throw it randomly, find an episode to watch, and you're good. South Park used to not be continuous, and I think that's one of those things that they were actually able to pull it off because this is a beloved TV show that's gone on for nearly as old as we are now. And they're able to make it work and keep it interesting because at the end of the day, that show is supposed to be more satirical and it's supposed to, have hot button issues that are going on in society and bring that into the plot line. Um, that is a show I think works for continuous purposes, but I couldn't imagine Family Guy being continuous other than maybe when Brian died.
Yeah, I don't know how they would do it to make it continuous. Because I don't watch South Park. Corey's been trying to get me to watch it forever. But they are doing like the post COVID episodes now. Are they like all continuous? Is it like a mini?
Um, I think they are continuous because they also had like two specials to tie up loose ends, and they're kind of like hour and a half long type ordeals. So yeah, they're continuous, and they all address like COVID and Randy's involvement and everything. Which to that point, I think you've made this idea clear several times that you'd probably love South Park if Randy was the main character. But I think that field is too saturated with already like dumb dads. Like you have Peter Griffin, you have Homer, you have Stan from American Dad. Like, do we really need another dumb dad to lead a show?
I think my biggest thing with South Park is the whole like uh when we were talking about Dexter, how like, oh, you'd want to watch the whole thing just to get the whole thing, like you wouldn't want to skip any episodes. My problem is the first season of South Park is really rough. Like I have a very tough time watching it, but I don't want to skip them. Like I just want to get the full South Park effect and I want to watch all of them. So it's like
Mhm.
if I could just get through like the first couple seasons, I know it gets better. I know things start to figure themselves out. And then Randy gets a bigger role in the show, so I'm gonna keep waiting. Randy's the best. It's he's so great. I know it probably wouldn't be the same if it was like, you know, South Randy or Randy Park or something, but I think it'd be a lot better if he was like the main character. But I get what you're saying about the whole that it's oversaturated.
Mhm. So, a couple other things that I think can go into making a great TV show are obviously just the acting and writing. Um, Really, the only show I can think of, um, and this is my lack of experience in remembering TV shows sometimes, but The Walking Dead and Breaking Bad, two AMC shows, are the only ones I can really think of where the actors who joined on that show were relatively unknown for the most part, and now they're like A-listers.
You said The Walking Dead. What else?
Breaking Bad.
Oh, okay.
You have like Bryan Cranston was known for Malcolm in the Middle, and a couple other things at the time. I think Aaron Paul was relatively still unknown around the time, and now I think he could be considered an A-lister in some ways. Uh, the biggest one I can think of from The Walking Dead is, as popular as Norman Reedus is, John Bernthal always talks about how happy he was to be killed off immediately because then he could go be in The Wolf of Wall Street and other things like that. So, um, what are some shows that come to mind when you think of great acting? And I know we keep going back and forth to Walking Dead, Breaking Bad, Dexter a little bit, but you got anything in mind like that?
I think you can. It's like a what's the word? Like ratio. Like The Office is another show where like nobody knew like who any of these people were, aside from
Mhm.
like Michael Scott, Steve Carell. But I think like for them being who they were, like not knowing who any of these people were, it's like they did a pretty spot on job. Like just and I think you kind of have to too. Like you can't have a job about like a paper company where you have all these like A-list actors who are like everybody knows who they are. And it's like you got to get a bunch of random people who nobody knows anything
Mhm.
about. They have like they're like boring at like relatively speaking. And I think that's what makes it good. But one in particular that, and I know I don't think that you have watched the show yet, but it's been like a lot of people have told me I need to watch it, is Succession. And
Mm.
that's an HBO Max show. It's fantastic. The acting is so good. It's the combination of acting and writing. It's like a serious show. It's not really, I mean, it is funny. Like there are funny parts to it, but the writing is just so good. Like, and that's another thing we'll talk about is the writing of a show. The jokes in the show, like it's not supposed to be funny, but they're like characters who like make little jabs and like, oh, you're like if you're so dumb you could. I don't know. There's a joke I'm trying to think of that's
That
not
was
coming to me.
funny.
Yeah, I know it's hilarious. It's like oh, what is it? It's you're so dumb you couldn't pour piss out of a boot with instructions written on a heel, just like stupid shit like that. They're just like, oh, got him. Like that's not an actual joke of the show. It's just something. But yeah, writing, great, phenomenal.
So that show, I might get canceled for this here. That has dare I say, because I just can't remember the guy's name, Macaulay's brother, right?
Yes, Kieran. Yes,
Yeah, Kieran. Oh God, all the Kieran fans are gonna be like, he's more than just Macaulay Culkin's brother.
he's that one guy from Scott Pilgrim. So what about like game shows? You ever big into game shows at all?
Obviously everyone loves Jeopardy. I think they're still trying to find the successor to Alex Trebek, right?
I haven't watched Jeopardy in a long time. I know. I think the last episode I watched, Aaron Rodgers was the host, and he sucked. I did not like Aaron Rodgers as a
You really think
host.
so?
He's just too boring. Like he's got a very monotonous voice, and I don't think the
Mhm.
job is right for him. Um,
So you'd be very upset if Aaron Rodgers retired, went straight into full on Jeopardy mode.
yeah, no, no, probably not. Um,
Is there anyone
Jeopardy's
in mind who you would like to host the show?
somewhat like it would have to be someone who's like not too busy. Like I would love like Morgan Freeman to be the host of Jeopardy, but he's way too busy doing all this like for $400. I can't do an impression, but oh, I think it'd be great. Or someone just like someone who has like a very nice, soothing voice, someone very interesting. I don't know. Like I
What
feel
about
if
a?
someone's
I don't know why I just thought about this. What if Cal Penn hosted Jeopardy?
that'd
I
be
think it
good.
would be a very
I,
nice
I
amicable character.
feel like someone like keeping it entertaining. Like the thing I like about Alex Trebek is that he would always add like a little something to the end of it. Like if you didn't know the answer, he'd be like, "Oh, you don't know that answer, huh?" Huh. Like he wasn't being mean about it. He was just being like little jabs, and it was
It's
funny. You
like
gotta,
there was that category about sports, and obviously the people didn't know any of the answers, and he's just like, I can tell that we should probably just skip this category.
yeah, yeah, great guy that Alex Trebek. Um,
Mhm.
but did you ever watch Wheel of Fortune? It was like the show that came on right before Jeopardy, so I always like watched the end of it and then led into Jeopardy. We
My
ever
grandparents didn't have cable, so I remember, always watching those local channels and seeing Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune. But when I was a kid, I thought it was kind of boring. I was like, I don't really want to watch this. But I mean, I get it. I liked the way, especially that South Park made fun of. They didn't really make fun of it, but some of the characters have been on Wheel of Fortune, and they've said some things that maybe shouldn't be repeated on this platform. But Game shows are good. My family actually watches a lot of the Game Show Network. I don't know if you ever tune in there. It's usually a lot of shows that are hosted by people you don't hear from anymore. Joey Fatone is one of them, but they're not. They're pretty much all the exact same show. It's kind of like trivia, and I don't really know. Are there other? Would you say that American Ninja Warrior is a game show, or
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could consider it. I don't think like I don't think Jeopardy is staged. I don't think Wheel of Fortune is staged, but there are certain game shows, and I'm not saying American Ninja Warrior is one of those shows that's staged, but like Deal or No Deal. Would you like how do you
oh,
know? Like that's one of the shows that's going to bring up like Howie
mhm.
Mandel. It's like do you know, do the contestants know what's in the briefcases? Like how much of that is like acting? Like Family Feud, you're talking about Joey Fatone, and he was like one of the 70 hosts of Family Feud. Like is it all a bit? Like are they all like playing it up for the show? But yeah, I don't even remember what your original question was.
What I was just saying, what other game shows are there really besides trivia? You brought up Deal or No Deal. Was Wipeout a game show? I don't even remember.
Yeah, that's yeah, because I think well, I was gonna say any show with like a cash prize, but then you get into like Survivor. Like I don't know if I would
Okay.
consider that a game show. It's like
Okay,
a
right.
reality.
What about what is that? Oh, I can't believe I'm blanking. There's a very popular show, probably shown on Spike TV.
Is there
Has to
money
do with
involved?
fears. Yes.
Oh, a
Fear
thousand ways to
Factor.
die.
Fear
Oh, Fear
Factor.
Factor. Oh, okay, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. Was that a game show? I don't even remember.
Yeah,
I
I
think it
would say that
was.
there's a game show because there's like three different levels, and then yeah, because there's a prize at the end. Yeah, I guess it's like a gray area of you know are we playing a game or is this more like a reality game show? I don't really
Mhm.
know. Um,
Speaking of reality shows, though, now you mentioned it, Practical Jokers. What would we call that? Is that a game show? I don't think that's a game show. It's more of a
it's like
prank
an on the
show, I
street. It's like
guess.
yeah, on the street. I don't know. Do they call those shows like on Man on the Street? Kind of like
I
you're
didn't even know that was a category.
yeah, they're like a couple of shows where, like the Andy Milonakis show where all he's doing is just like running around, I don't know, New York or something, just like asking people questions with a microphone in his hand.
Running around New York. That show about the cash cab, right?
That's a
That
game
that's a
show.
game show. That's a
That is a
good
game
game show
show.
right there.
Yeah. I don't
Any
even
other
remember
ones?
what that guy's name was. Um
Is not the name I was thinking.
Minute to Win It was a good one. That was like Guy Fieri's only experience into the game show business.
Okay, this isn't a game show. I'm thinking of competition shows now. I guess you could say that Impractical Jokers is a competition show. Chopped, Chopped is one of my favorite competition shows. Um, I don't know how much you've ever gotten into it, but it's pretty intense sometimes, you know. And then you hear the people's backstories are like, yeah, if I don't win this money, my restaurant's going out of business and my family's going to live on the streets. And you're like, oh, they didn't make it to the last round. They got chopped.
The worst show for doing that, I think, was like American Idol, where they're like, everyone had a sad story. You were not a happy person if you got a story on American Idol. It was like,
Mhm.
I sing in a karaoke bar and I can't see and I my legs I can't walk, and it's like it's so sad, and it's like oh man I
The thing about that though is I think I could for the most part think of a lot of people who got second chances from not winning American Idol than more people who did win American Idol. Like
mhm.
the only person that comes to mind when I think of winning American Idol, and I'm sure I'm obviously blanking here, is like what is Clay Aiken doing now?
He's
Remember
running for
Clay Aiken?
Senate. I think he's
Really?
they're trying to become a senator. I think you know what, hold that
I don't
thought.
know.
I'm gonna look it up really quick. Clay Aiken, he is yeah for Congress. He's running for Congress.
Really?
Yep. So
I need to correct this now for someone else calls me out on it. Who else won American Idol that we
Kelly Clarkson
recognize? Kelly
won.
Clarkson. That's a big one. Philip Phillips. Carrie Underwood. Kelly Clarkson was the very first winner.
He was the very first.
Wow. Jordan Sparks. Besides that, I don't think I've heard of what's these other people. But yeah, see, I'm sure there are a lot of runner-ups. So, yeah.
There were the two Davids, David Archuleta and I don't remember the other guy's name. David.
Oh, Clay Aiken didn't win? No, I guess he didn't.
He's not a winner.
Yeah, so Clay Aiken, David Archuleta, like you said, Adam Lambert.
Yeah, yep. Mm-hmm.
Wow, I forgot a lot of these people.
Who's the bald guy? He didn't win, but he got like really popular. I keep wanting to say Howie Mandel, but
I was also going to say Howie Mandel earlier.
The bald guy.
Bald guy, American Idol.
American Idol. It's like Chris Daughtry. That's what I'm thinking.
Chris Daughtry. I totally forgot about Chris Daughtry.
Yep.
Oh,
and there's a picture of Howie Mandel. It's the fourth result.
You're gonna have to show it on the screen.
Let's see if I can. Well, I just closed out of our Google Doc, so I can't. I won't be able to see, but it's the fourth result. 1, 2, 3, number 4. Can you see that?
Bald guy, American Idol, and Howie Mandel shows up.
Yep.
That is amazing.
Okay, now I have to figure out.
And you just typed in bald guy, American Idol.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But going back to Impractical Jokers, that show kind of came out of nowhere for me. Like, it's so good, and rest in peace. Well, not rest in peace because he's still alive, but Joe Gatto is no longer on.
Joe's still alive.
Yeah, he's good. He's good.
He's still fine, but yeah, he was definitely my favorite character. You know, I was just listening to both Joe and Sal on 2 separate occasions run Justin Long's podcast, talking about the show. And I think most people understand by now the show's not really scripted, but it has to stay on its feet to not ever become stale. And a lot of people knew that Joe would most likely do anything, but you know, they both spoke openly about how like now they know it's not a matter of, oh, it's just a joke. Most people know who we are. Like Joe's going to say something because people will take it as a joke, but like they had to rewrite their whole show around that because like Joe would easily steal most of these moments and get away with them. And then it had to be more of like, say this without laughing. And there are a lot of things that I think we take a lot, that we take away from that in our humor per se. And of, hey, let's try to say this without laughing. And I usually lose with that one.
Yeah. That show is carrying True TV. Like there is not a time that I go on True TV and it's not on. Like, and it's not a bad thing. Like it's so good. It's just so funny. Like I just associate True TV with Impractical Jokers now.
Yeah.
But I think because that was like, it's relatively new. Like it's not a new show, but like for us growing up, it was like kind of the later part of our childhood, like into high school. And I think that kind of like formed some of our humor, like you were saying. Like we kind of base some of the things that we do on, oh, if you're going to interact with this person, try not to laugh and do something funny with this person, but try and keep a straight face, like that sort of thing. So special place in our hearts for Practical Jokers for sure.
You know, someone who is very good in our friend group who can say a lot of things with a straight face is our friend Cole. I'd love to get Cole on the show eventually. You know, he's probably the funniest person I've ever met. I've always told Evan he has the Seth Rogen gene that they've described in Family Guy, where they inject Peter with some trial shots, and he's like, anything you do or say will be instantly funny, even if you're not trying to be. So yeah, I think a lot of our friends have those Impractical Joker qualities that I think a lot of people would love to have in a friend group.
For sure. So kind of keeping on the humor side of TV shows, do you have any strong opinions on Saturday Night Live? That's a pretty long running
Ooh,
show. It's been around
I
for
do. I do really love Saturday Night Live, and I know something we've usually talked about is what is the greatest era of Saturday Night Live? Uh, I'm always kind of wrestling with that one because I think the writing is so good now because obviously as another satirical type show, it plays on what we would most recognize in today's society. Um, so the newer seasons are the ones I relate to the most, and then I also just love the up and coming like uh, guest hosts and everything. I love all of those. The cast itself, I think, is on point as well, and everyone loves Keenan. But I think if I had to pick 2000s era, like early 2000s era, or the early 90s would have to do it for me, where there's like the original Adam Sandler and his posse versus Will Ferrell, and then like Fallon and who else am I thinking of? Tracy Morgan and all those characters are on there. But I don't know. What are you? You're like a late 2000s type guy, right? With like Sandberg.
it depends. That was like when I first started like watching SNL.
Mm-hmm.
Was when it was like Sandberg and like Tina Fey and Amy Poehler. I was like, this show is hilarious. And they had like the Lonely Island, all their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like if I'm just going on YouTube, I have to do like 90s SNL, like Chris Farley, one of my favorite actors ever. He's hilarious. David Spade. That like group of people. And I think correct me if I'm wrong. Is that like Chris Rock, or is Chris Rock like later on 2000?
Chris Rock's in that.
Yeah, like that group of people, like so funny, like just so good. Like, they're gonna be doing a lot of doobie rolling in the van down by the river. Like, oh man, it's just so much life in that. And like, I don't know, I just don't feel like it's been replicated. Like the Will Ferrell kind of earlier 2000s is also very good. Um, but yeah, just it's
Do
either
you
that like late 2000s or the 90s era.
do
I don't
you
know.
ever watch the vintage episodes though? Because I heard the show started in 75. It wasn't doing too good, and then Eddie Murphy like supposedly saved the whole show. Did you ever watch some of those old clips?
A little bit. I think like Chevy Chase was part of Saturday Night Live for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Norm Macdonald, I think that was like a little bit later, I think, like maybe late 80s, early 90s. I don't remember for sure. He was like the Weekend Update host for a little while. And those
Mm-hmm.
were good. Just because we're a little bit older or we're younger and we don't like know as much. I don't remember as much, but I don't know. Was there like certain other characters like Eddie Murphy that you had in
I loved his Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood. I don't know if you've ever seen those. Like
I
it's
I
the
have
yeah.
I have seen a couple of those, yeah.
Yeah, that's I mean
Good.
that's really the only one I can think of, and I unfortunately I don't know much more about it, but yeah, that's what I think of. But yeah, I'd probably say my favorite era was with the Will Ferrell or the Adam Sandler or even today. My favorite actor on the show, Beck Bennett, just got the axe a couple seasons ago, so I was pretty sad about that. But either way, I've still been keeping up with this season for the most part, and I love it.
Did he get the axe or did he leave on his own terms?
I think he got the axe.
Okay. Yeah, there.
Unfortunately, because I mean they always I think they do always choose to cycle out the cast for the most part. I
Mhm.
would say besides like Keenan and Kate McKinnon, I don't really know anyone you would know of who would have like pure tenure on that show.
Like current SNL cast. Yeah. Pete Davidson, he's like the new era of SNL to me. He's like
Mhm.
he wasn't on when we were like, high school. He just is a more recent addition. I
Cecily Strong,
yeah,
Kizzy.
Kate McKinnon's hilarious. Keenan, of course. Uh
A lot of
Jason
these are not up to date. I feel
is Jason Sudeikis a current cast member of
no,
SNL?
no,
Okay.
that's why. Yeah, see, so Sudeikis was in the same era as Sandberg. So yeah, see, it's so hard to pick. Oh, this is my favorite group of SNL characters.
Yeah, everyone, it's like a because everyone's on at different times. It's like
Mm-hmm.
a continuous kind of thing. But yeah, I haven't watched like an episode. Like I haven't sat down unless there's like a guest, like the Strokes. I think were performing on SNL, so I was like, I gotta watch this episode. Like, are there guests you look out for in particular, or?
I liked Owen Wilson's episode. I watched Simu Liu's episode, Aquafina, all that stuff. Uh, Billie Eilish did pretty well. I was gonna ask you though, sorry. Do you have an all-time favorite cast member on there? Because I did like Beck Bennett, but he's probably not my favorite cast member. If you had to pick one, like anybody. And obviously there's the stock popular choices, Will Ferrell, Adam Sandler, all those characters. But do you have a favorite SNL cast member?
Man, I would like to say Chris Farley, just because there are a lot of memorable skits, but there's something about Will Ferrell that, and I know I've like in the past called him my favorite actor like ever, but the Jeopardy episodes where he plays like Alex Trebek, and they have all of the like random characters like Turd Ferguson, played by Norm, but just the way he like has to handle, he's like potent potables, or it's like I don't know, it's so good. That's like, and I'm gonna answer your question with another question. Do you have like a favorite?
Late hits now.
Actually, it's Let It Snow. Thank you, Turd Ferguson. Or no, that one's who is it? What's his name?
Burt Reynolds.
Burt Reynolds.
That's not Burt Reynolds.
I
don't know. I don't remember.
No, it is. That's who it is.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember who he plays or who it's played by, but yeah, it's like, actually, Burt.
No, it's not Burt Reynolds. It's not Burt Reynolds. No, I gotta get this right now because I don't want to forget this. Dude,
it's some old white guy, just some
who just passed away like last year.
That's not what your mother said, Trebek.
Oh, it is Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
I was thinking of Paul Newman. I don't know how I got this. You said some old white guy, right? Yeah, I just got it confused. Just clip that part out.
What part? Oh, that's good. That's good without this.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll figure it out. I'll figure out where to cut it out.
Let's end this soon.
Okay, but you okay, so I would probably say Will Ferrell, but who's your like all-timer favorite?
So this is not really a cast member, but all of his episodes and skits have been great. And whenever he's come back to guest host, I really, really love John Mulaney's performances on SNL. Pretty funny. I loved him. When he's been able to come back and guest host, as I said, I loved him in Into the Spider-Verse, and very iconic voice, very nasally, very recognizable. Easily one of my favorite. But I'd probably have to say, besides, Beck Bennett, Keenan's pretty good. I think a lot of guest stars just steal the show from me because some of them are really good, but then some of them are really not that great. Like, a lot of people give Jimmy Fallon a lot of flack for always breaking character in every skit, but everyone knows I love Ryan Gosling. Whenever Ryan Gosling's on SNL, he always breaks character too. So I think that's necessary in a show sometimes to, just be a little more human and not as professional with it.
Yeah, I promise I'm listening. I'm just looking at a complete list of all the like former cast members. You know who doesn't get enough credit? He's like a foundational member of SNL is Bobby Moynihan. Like he's always like a supplementary character in a lot of the skits, but he's hilarious. Like he's so funny.
I was going to say, I completely forgot about until just now. It just jogged my memory when you said Bobby Moynihan. I forgot about Fred Armisen. It's Fred Armisen. And he always plays like women in the roles and stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, there are a lot of good actors because a lot of people get their careers going, I think, through SNL. Like
Mhm.
you start on SNL, and then like even behind the scenes, like a lot of writers, they're like, oh yeah, like some of the best writers they started on SNL. Like
Right.
going back to like what makes a good show, writing.
Mhm.
I think if they have like that SNL credit somewhere on their resume, it's like, oh, he's probably good, or they
Probably a
probably good
good
writer,
writer.
probably
Yeah.
really good. Um, but yeah, I feel like we could probably go on forever talking about just random TV shows. Just
Mhm.
to kind of close things out, we didn't really discuss shows as kids. Did you have like a favorite TV show as a kid growing up?
I feel like I already know your answer. Um, my favorite show as a kid. That's a great question. Really loved all the Cartoon Network shows. I felt like 2006 was probably the golden age of Cartoon Network, in my opinion. Um, and there's a lot of shows like Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, cartoons, mind you. My favorite show that I really enjoyed as a kid, though, and I had every episode on. I think you remember this. I had every episode on a external hard drive. I had uh, the movie feature. I had like the sequel to that. I didn't have the Christmas special though. I did really love Drake and Josh.
So good. It's such a good show.
um,
Like,
it was significantly ahead of its time. I think, in my opinion, it was. I've never seen anything like it up to that point, and don't think I've ever seen anything since. Like iCarly tried to be like it, but it wasn't.
yeah, there. I don't know. Like, I don't know about you. I had different moods. Like, it was like Cartoon Network was channel 45, and then like Nick was 44 or something like that when I was a kid. And it was like I would just alternate through those. I didn't watch a whole lot of Disney Channel growing up. Like, a
Mhm.
little bit. Sweet Life, Jack and Cody. Watch that.
Wizards. I know you watched Wizards
Wizards.
of
I did
Waverly
watch Wizards
Place.
of Waverly Place, but Nick and Cartoon Network were definitely my go-to. Um, Drake and Josh, definitely up there. I love
iCarly.
Ned's iCarly. I love Ned's Declassified. I don't know if you ever watched that show.
I
That one
watched
was
a
pretty
little
good.
bit.
But for Cartoon Network, like you said, Foster's Home, Codename Kids Next Door,
Ed and Eddie.
Ed and Eddie. I watched a lot of Flapjack as a kid, which I know a lot of people don't really care for that show, but it
Can you
was
do
very
the Can you do the
strange to me.
laugh?
I don't know if I should do the laugh. It was like, very, very, very odd, very strange. Um, but yeah, I think we grew up like together, so I think a lot of our shows kind of overlap.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I like Drake and Josh. That was like the first show where I would like wait for the special, like that have the little countdown on the screen of oh, um, what was the really big shrimp? What was the name of that special
That wasn't a
episode?
special. That
Really,
was a
yeah,
special.
there's like the countdown timer
Hmm.
at the bottom of the screen. It's like gonna come on in 8 hours. Heck yeah. Um, but yeah, there I like I said, I could just go on for hours and hours and talk about all different shows. But in the interest of time, I think we'll keep it short, keep it nice and
Hmm.
sweet. Um, but next, I don't know if it's going to be the next episode, but in the future, we will have the same kind of episode, but we will discuss movies, just kind of our
Hmm.
thoughts and opinions on movies that we enjoyed growing up, some of the newer movies. So that'll be a good one. You'll want to stay tuned. We got some more guests in the lineup for the show, so you're not going to want to miss
Artists
it.
in depth.
Artists in Depth. Yeah, we have really enjoyed putting that series together and kind of reconnecting with some friends there. So
Hmm.
I think that'll do it for the episode. Thank you guys all for watching. We hope you enjoy the rest of your January. Right? I think this is gonna come out in January.
Hmm.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.
All right. See you guys.
Peace out.